Shocking murder for hire plot rocking the music world right now, and ABC's Cecilia Vega has the story.
But this morning, lead singer Tim Lambesis is behind bars, accused of doing something very much against his religion, hiring a hitman to kill his estranged wife. Police say in April, Lambesis asked a man at his gym if he knew anyone who could pull off a murder for hire. That led to a sting operation in which the 32-year-old allegedly handed an undercover agent $1,000 in cash, a photo of his wife, and her security gate code. Police say he even supplied an alibi, days when he would be away with their 3 adopted kids.
When specifically asked, do you want her dead? He said, yes, that's exactly what I want.
On Thursday, Lambesis pleaded not guilty.
I would say it's probably a misinterpretation. In terms of actually wanting her dead, no.
It appears to have started when Megan Lambesis filed for divorce in September, saying Tim's behavior changed, calling him unavailable to their kids and obsessed with bodybuilding. Videos online reveal Lambesis' startling physical transformation, then here in 2008 showing his love of tattoos on LA Ink. And buffed here 5 years later.
You can't laugh though, because it'll ruin your concentration.
But this morning, the allegations are no laughing matter. The rocker who sang about his Christian faith could now face 9 years in prison. For Good Morning America, Cecilia Vega, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Well, he's been out of work for months, but still dresses for the office, and he kisses his wife goodbye, and he heads for his Parkman shower every morning while his briefcase in hand, and he just can't seem to tell her inside he's no longer a man, and he looks to the paper convinced that nobody wants him.
Hi everyone, I'm Clifford today. You're not. Jesus Christ Superstar musical soundtrack, Seconds Out by Genesis. So, passion and instinct versus logic and reason. That is what is at war with each other within every person. If you remember the last video I did, you saw that this is what is represented on Tim Lambesis' back tattoo of a samurai fighting a tiger. The tiger represents passion and instinct. The samurai represents logic and reason. There must be a perfect balance of both within us. If the samurai wins, we don't take risks and we live lives of complacency and boredom. If the tiger wins, well, who knows what chaos will ensue. In the life of Tim Lambesis, at this point in the story, with his marriage falling apart and his faith in question, it soon became clear that the samurai was losing. It was around April-May 2013 that As I Lay Dying had just gotten back from a tour in Asia and would be home for a few weeks before going back on tour in the US. It was during this break that Tim was spending time working out in the gym. While there, Tim approached his personal trainer Brett Kimball and asked something Brett most likely did not expect. Did he know anyone Tim could hire who would kill his wife? At around this time, Tim and his wife had been undergoing their divorce and getting things all figured out. Tim apparently had become paranoid and believed Megan was after his income. Megan was reported as stating that she had just over $21,000 to her name, while she believed that her husband was receiving about $25,000 a month from his different music projects and a clothing line he started. Tim was obviously not interested in letting her get away with his money. Like any normal person, Brett Kimball was concerned with this strange inquiry and contacted the authorities. The local police decided to investigate and sent one of their detectives to meet with Tim, acting undercover as a hitman. This particular agent has been referred to by the code name Red. When Tim and Red met, the undercover detective asked Tim if he specifically wanted his wife dead, to which Tim responded with, "Yes, that's what I want." Tim then handed Red an envelope that contained $1,000 cash, pictures of Megan, her house address, and the code that gave access through the gate entrance. Tim asked that the hit take place on a particular date that he was to be with his kids so that he would have an alibi. Tim said he would pay $20,000 when his wife was killed. In Tim's eyes, the deal was set and the two parted ways. However, unbeknownst to Tim, Red had recorded the whole conversation. On May 7, 2013, Tim Lambesis was found by local police shopping at a store in Oceanside, California, and was arrested for solicitation of murder.
He's in here jail tonight in Vista, and we're told he was processed no more than an hour ago. Deputies say Lambesis was in China on tour on Thursday when they first got the report that the singer wanted a hitman to kill his wife. He posted this picture on Instagram the next day.
I don't know why he wanted to do this. I don't know how long he and his wife have been estranged.
The 32-year-old singer and his wife Megan had adopted 3 children from Ethiopia, and according to court records, were going through a divorce. Detectives kept guard over her this weekend while they waited for him to return from Asia.
One of the captains said that he didn't have any doubt we saved a life today, that we averted an extreme tragedy.
And he's going to be in court on Thursday. We should learn more about the conversation he had with the undercover officer.
The next day, the other 4 members of As I Lay Dying released a statement in response to Lambesis' arrest. As we post this, the legal process is taking its course, and we have no more information than you do. There are many unanswered questions, and the situation will become clear in the coming days and weeks. We'll keep you informed as best we can. Our thoughts right now are with Tim, his family, and with everyone else affected by this terrible situation, and with our fans, whom we love and draw strength from. Thank you for understanding, and as always, for your support of As I Lay Dying. At Tim's arraignment in court on May 9th, Tim entered a plea of not guilty of the charges. Prosecuting on Megan's behalf, Deputy District Attorney Claudia Grasso originally set Lambesis' bail at $20 million. However, by the end of the day, thanks to Tim's defense attorney Thomas Warwick, the bail was reduced to $3 million despite prosecutors claiming Lambesis as a flight risk and danger to the public. The other members of the band and representatives from Metal Blade Records were all in attendance at the arraignment. A new bail hearing was held on May 17th. It was at this hearing that Warwick said his client had gotten into bodybuilding and later began taking nutritional supplements. Eventually, the musician began taking steroids. Warwick added that, quote, his thought processes were devastatingly affected by his steroid use.
Defense attorney Tom Warwick referred to his client as a big guy, then went on, you see the deterioration of Tim Lambesis, blaming roid rage for a good person entering a distorted state. This video shows a skinny young man obsessed with tattoos a few years ago, and the stunning change as bodybuilding and steroids took over his life.
He was more irritable, he was more reactive, he was not the good Christian that was Jesus-like in high school.
That day, Judge David Berry agreed to reduce Lambesis' bail to $2 million despite Warwick's plea for a bail of $25,000, complaining the amount was still too high.
We wish he didn't lower bail, but we're hoping that they still can't make it and that Megan will be safe, and that's what we care about the most, is that her and her kids are safe.
If Lambesis does make bail, he'll be under virtual house arrest, wearing a GPS monitoring system and forbidden any contact with his wife and children. In Vista, Steve Fiorina, 10 News.
On May 30th, Tim Lambesis was released on bail and placed under house arrest, being required to wear a GPS monitor and not able to go near his wife and kids, nor reach out to them. Sometime in July 2013, while still on house arrest, Tim posted a blog post that has since been deleted, giving as much information as he could give on the current situation, stating that there was only so much he was at liberty to convey. Someday I will be able to tell the story of all that has happened in detail to get the facts straight, and representing the many sides to this fairly complex story. In the meantime, many of you will make your assumptions and take the sensationalism of the press focusing on selling points at face value. I can't stop that from happening. And I've learned something by not having that kind of control. The people who want understanding will wait until the formalities and trials are done. I'm out on bail, but on house arrest. My family has jobs and the ability to run errands or take an afternoon or evening out. I have the unique opportunity of being able to focus and study like I may never have again in life after this. While I can't say that I always enjoy it, it is more valuable than I originally acknowledged. He then goes into the certain topics he was very anxious to get into. I grew up in a Christian home and held that belief myself for many years. In the process of sincerely trying to defend that belief in a scholarly way, and shortly after finishing my degree, I felt that it was unreasonable to call myself Christian in light of the evidence. Anyway, after my incarceration, I found myself reevaluating topics that I had previously sworn I would never waste my time looking at again. Many can chalk that up as one point for pure boredom in an isolation cell, or you can look at it providentially as the needed circumstance and only possible way to get me to humble my mind. Either way, I don't want to just read aimlessly. These daily lists are a way for me to understand what I've already covered and which topics I should get more material on to read more in depth. Since these lists are public, it is also a way for me to discover the ignorance of many people who post. To be most helpful, please stay on topic. Throughout the time of his house arrest, Tim would continue to read and study and have conversations with fellow readers online. For 7 long months, there were no new developments in the case, and aside from Tim's philosophical conversations online, everything was quiet. On February 25, 2014, Lambesis appeared in court and changed his plea from not guilty to guilty.
How do you plead? Guilty.
At this time, Tim was looking at 9 years in prison.
Under this plea deal, he's looking at up to 9 years in prison, and prosecutors say they intend to push for the max. Lambesis' attorney refused to comment on the change of plea. Meantime, prosecutors say Megan Lambesis, who has been in hiding, is relieved with the new developments. Lambesis remains free on bail for now, pending his sentencing hearing, which will be held here in May. In Vista, Vanessa Van Hefty, 10 News.
On February 9th, a strange post was made on the band's website, attempting to update the fans on the future of the band, as well as clear up a few misconceptions. The post was a bit confusing in structure and a bit incoherent, but here are the main points the post brought up. A good starting point is to clarify some things that have often been falsely reported. Tim was not a Christian at the time of his arrest, nor was As I Lay Dying a Christian band in 2013. It hadn't been for some time, and to the best of my knowledge, only one of the people playing in the band even claimed to be a Christian at that time. The change view had been written about in a handful of As I Lay Dying songs, and Tim's later atheistic view had even been documented in court records. With all that said, we don't know how each musician from the previous era of As I Lay Dying will think about these topics in the future. For example, Tim has spent much of the last year reevaluating what originally convinced him to abandon belief in God. I have gathered that after much brokenness and repentance, he sees things differently, considers himself a follower of Jesus, someone submitted to the will of God, or whatever you want to call it. That's for him to talk about when he's comfortable, and only time will tell if he is sincere. The post also stated that since Tim and Jordan were the official band owners and neither were certain about when or if the band would continue even after Tim's sentence was fulfilled, As I Lay Dying would be put on indefinite hiatus. Even if more discussions were to take place, Jordan would rather take time to pursue other things. That includes releasing new music with 3 of the guys from the most recent As I Lay Dying lineup. It's a chance for Jordan to be more involved in the songwriting process and enjoy other styles he'd rather play. In fact, they've already recorded their debut album, and I'm sure it'll be awesome. It's not meant to replace As I Lay Dying because it is something stylistically different under a different name. Interestingly enough, their vocalist is also a former Christian like his new bandmates and is the guitar player for Oh Sleeper, Shane Blay. They'll have stuff to release through Metal Blade relatively soon, which will be an exciting, interesting combination given the band's more radio-friendly sound. As I Lay Dying is sleeping rather than dead, and there are 2 separate projects to hold you over whether or not it is awakened again. Later that same day, Nick Hepa posted a statement on his own Facebook page on behalf of the rest of the band. This morning, an update was posted over at www.asilaydying.com on the current happenings and individual futures of all the band's members. For Jordan, Josh, Nick, Phil, management, and record label, this was an interesting first-time read as all parties were oblivious to its construction, intent, and release. Though Tim is the only one with access to the As I Lay Dying site, The rest of us have been releasing content through our personal social media accounts to reveal that we are carrying on in a new band. Our truest intentions were to make this unveiling interesting and exciting for anyone who has supported us over the past year. With information so instantaneous and disposable these days, we had hoped to show you how things were coming together rather than simply tell you. We never want to capture attention dramatically, which is precisely why we've been off the radar for close to a year. Though the third-person statement released earlier compromises a lot of how we had hoped to unroll things, we remain positive in our outlooks and look forward to sharing new music soon. Of course, the truth was that Tim had posted the previous update on the website without any of the band's knowledge. Tim had a couple months before his final sentencing in May. Wanting to come clean and lay his feelings and thoughts on the table, Tim had an extensive interview with Ryan J. Downey of Alternative Press at some point during this time, on the condition that the interview not be released until after his sentencing. Starting off the lengthy conversation was the subject of Tim's parenting life. Eventually, it got more difficult. Megan's sense of identity was in being a mother, and rightfully so. She had 3 kids to take care of as often as possible. I was doing my best to be there 50% of the time. She didn't work, and I didn't want her to, with 3 kids, especially newly adopted kids who need that extra nurturing and love. Work became my thing, and parenting became her thing. So even when I tried to be more involved as a father, she was like, "Well, this is my thing. What are you doing?" I felt pushed out of my own family. It was difficult. It wasn't like I was negligent. I'm sure people have their opinions of me after the fact. I started justifying all of these weird thoughts. I started to think I'd have a better relationship with the kids if her and I weren't together anymore. When asked about Megan's accusations of Tim's incessant texting, he merely waved it off, stating that it was, quote, pretty normal for one person to accuse another of when they're trying to come up with a list of complaints for divorce papers. If I had my day in family court, he added, I'm sure I would have brought my own list of things that nitpicked every little detail. I had my own insecurities. When I was home, I didn't feel like my wife was excited to be with me because she was more concerned with the excitement of other things in life. I'm admitting my big insecurity. I began to seek that adoration from my career. I started paying more attention to tiny details about my body. If there's anything that really caused a big divide in our relationship, it was those insecurities. Mine were obviously much worse as far as being unhealthy. When asked about why he started taking steroids, Tim answered, "It's a stupid justification looking back, but I had hit a natural plateau. My body didn't want to change beyond a certain point. I thought, well, everyone takes these supplements that are as close to steroids as you can get. Why not cut the crap? I thought it would be more sincere to just take steroids instead of taking the closest thing. Every fitness magazine you look at, not just the bodybuilding ones, but the ones with regular people in decent shape on the covers, people in the fitness industry told me that even the fitness models who just want to look lean and natural are all taking steroids. You don't have to go seeking steroid dealers. They find you." A handful of people came up to me saying, "I can tell you want to get to the next level." They weren't winking at me when they said it, but they might as well have been. I knew what they meant. They don't say, "Hey, I'm a steroid dealer." The first time a guy said I should consider steroids, I said, "Well, I'm just going to change my routine and shock my body with some new exercises." He had way more gym experience than me. He said, "Yeah, that'll help a little bit, but it's not going to get you what you're looking for." And then comes the sales pitch. After a while, Ryan proceeded to ask, "A month before your arrest, you posted a YouTube video addressing fans who felt your new side project, Pyrithion, was satanic." Pyrithion was a side project Tim had started just a little while before his arrest in 2013. "I remember watching the video at the time and noticing you never gave the easy answer. Of course not. I'm a Christian. You knew people thought of you as a Christian. Weren't you lying by omission?" Lambesis responded, "Yes. If you say, 'This is what I believe,' you can count on this. If you believe the same things, I'm on your team." A lot of Christian parents said, Yes, you can buy this As I Lay Dying CD because they're a Christian band. They don't even think to actually check the lyrics. So when you change your views, you kind of owe it to the fans to be honest. As far as the video I did explaining Pyrithian's lyrics, I was trying to put out a fire. I was afraid it would affect As I Lay Dying sales, which would affect my overall income. I was trying to put out the fire by saying the easiest thing: I'm not a Satanist. Truthfully, I was an atheist. The strategy I had at the time was cowardly. 2 of the songs on that record were about coming to grips with the idea that life has no purpose, no meaning. These were negative themes I wasn't allowed to deal with in As I Lay Dying songs. I thought making As I Lay Dying darker would be bad for my career. That was my thinking. I actually wasn't the first guy in As I Lay Dying to stop being a Christian. In fact, I think I was the third. The 2 who remained kind of stopped talking about it, and then I'm pretty sure they dropped it too. We talked about whether to keep taking money from the Christian market. We had this bizarrely noble thing like, well, we're not passing along any bad ideas, we're just singing about real life stuff. Those kids need to hear about real life because they live in a bubble. When kids would want to pray with us after shows, I'd be like, go ahead and pray. I would just let them pray. I'd say, amen. If praying while I have my hand on their shoulder makes them feel better, I didn't want to take that away from them. When they would specifically ask me to pray for something, I'd say, I don't really like to pray out loud, but I'll take that with me on the bus. The following statements have since been removed from the original article, but were quoted by various other sources reporting on the story. During the interview, Tim opened up about his true feelings about how the rest of the band dealt with the situation. They were all pretty aware of what was going on, but none of them called me out on it. Looking back, I wish they had been like, yo dude, is this really how you want your life to unfold? I understand it was awkward. We know he's cheating on his wife, we know he's going to end his marriage, we know he's on steroids. They all definitely knew I had strayed from my marriage, and at least some of them know about the steroids. The other band guys didn't return my calls when I first came home. I eventually did speak with Nick, really briefly. In both cases, we never got to the details. I thought they were establishing communication as if we'd eventually be able to talk about all of these things. But then it was almost like there was some sort of group thinking going on. It was like they all decided collectively not to talk to me. They cut off all communication. I'll just say this. They made it very clear that we are business partners and nothing more. It's heartbreaking on a personal level, but there's nothing wrong with doing that. I have to respect it. It's their choice. These statements and many more were recorded and written down, but wouldn't see the public eye until on May 16th, 2014, Tim Lambesis arrived in court to receive his sentence. Nick Hepa, Phil Scrosso, and Josh Gilbert were all present at the sentencing. Tim's wife Megan was there as well. The court ruling was that Tim Lambesis would serve 6 years in prison.
Empires crumble all the time.